In July of 1933, a London couple named George Spicer were driving along a quiet road in the Scottish Highlands. Suddenly, they slammed on the brakes. In front of their car, what they described as a most extraordinary form of animal was lurching across the road, a long, undulating neck held high, something unidentifiable dangling from its mouth as it headed for the dark water of Loch Ness. Within months, the entire British Empire was looking for a monster. But the Loch Ness Monster as we know it, long neck, humped back, a prehistoric silhouette against the mist, was not discovered in the 1930s. It was invented. It was born from a perfect collision of a new road, a hungry press, a faked photograph, and a very specific cultural moment. This is the story of how that happened. For centuries, Loch Ness was a remote, forbidding place. It's 23 miles long, over 700 feet deep, and until 1933, most of its shoreline was barely accessible. But that year, a brand new road, the A82, was blasted along the North Shore, suddenly giving thousands of motorists a clear, sweeping view of the water. The audience had arrived. In May, the Inverness Courier published a report by a local water bailiff, Alex Campbell. He wrote that a local couple, Aldi and John McKay, had seen an enormous animal rolling and plunging on the surface. Then came the Spicers' land sighting in July. After 1,000 years of a quiet loch, why now? Why all at once? And then, someone took a photograph. In April 1934, the London Daily Mail published a picture that would become the most famous cryptid image in history, the surgeon's photograph. Supposedly taken by a respected London gynecologist, Robert Kenneth Wilson, it showed a small head and a graceful neck rising from the loch. It worked brilliantly. Wilson refused to have his name associated with it, giving it an air of reluctant, credible mystery. The Daily Mail, which had already hired a big game hunter named Marmaduke Wetherell to find the creature, had its proof. The public, desperate for wonder, believed it. The photograph defined our image of Nessie for 60 years, until 1994, when one of the men who faked it, Christian Spurley, gave a deathbed confession. The monster, he revealed, was a toy submarine fitted with a sculpted head made of plastic wood. It was an elaborate hoax, a revenge plot cooked up by Marmaduke Wetherell after the Daily Mail had publicly humiliated him for finding fake monster footprints the previous winter. But by then, the photograph had done its work. The hoax only worked because the 1930s were uniquely ready for a monster. The blockbuster film King Kong had been released in 1933, putting a giant prehistoric creature in every cinema. The public was still fascinated by the 1920s plesiosaur fossil craze and the monumental dinosaur skeletons being mounted in museums. In the depths of the Great Depression, a free, exotic mystery in the British Isles was an irresistible distraction for newspapers and their readers. The story became so real that in 1938, the Secretary of State for Scotland ordered the police to protect the creature from harm. By the end of the decade, over 1,000 sightings had been logged. What the Loch Ness story really reveals isn't what lives in the water, but how a modern myth is manufactured. A new road creates witnesses, a hungry tabloid creates a photograph, a culture desperate for magic creates a creature. The monster of Loch Ness is real in the way that folklore is always real. People saw what they were primed to see, and the evidence followed the belief, not the other way around. There may or may not be something in the water, but there is definitely something in us that wanted there to be.